If you'd like to know about some of the NLP techniques, in this video, I'm going to share with you some of the basic yet powerful NLP techniques that you can use instantly. Hi, I'm Laura Evans, helping people like you to unleash their potential in business and life. And if this is the first time that you found me here on YouTube, then please be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you are notified every time we release a new video every Friday. I've been using NLP and NLP techniques for years. I started learning it in 2008, and over the years since then, I've not only used it on myself, but get the pleasure of every year training hundreds of people in NLP techniques so that they can help themselves and others. Now, just before I go too far, just full disclosure here, it's not going to be possible for me to cram all those years of experience and knowledge into a short video here on YouTube. So it's my intention here on this video to give you a few experiences and allow you to dip your toe into the water of NLP techniques and start to understand if it's something that might be of interest to you. Now, at the end of the video, I'm going to let you know about a brand new course that we've recently released, which is an introduction to NLP. But for now, let's get going and have a look at some techniques. Now, before we go too far, let's just pause for a moment and have a think about where did these techniques come from. NLP is all about the study of excellence. It's about taking people that are great at what they do, understanding how they do that, and then turning that into a process that you and I can replicate for ourselves and others. How did they discover these NLP techniques? Well, it was through a process called modelling. And NLP creators John Grinder and Richard Bandler came up with a special methodology, if you like, a way of studying people that are great at what they do to find out how they did it. And it's modelling that has led to all of these NLP techniques. The processes, to be honest, are like a byproduct of the processes that they were going through. They were hugely fascinated by human potential. There were all sorts of different people that they studied to find out how are they so great at what they do. So let's jump in and have a look at some of these NLP techniques. So the first technique which I'd like to introduce you to is a technique called the Swish pattern. Now, this has been around for a long time. It's one of the very early techniques, and it's brilliant for helping you to behave or feel differently in a specific context. So if we take an example of exams, most people, when they think of exams, get nervous, apprehensive, don't really look forward to them. They're hugely pressurised, aren't they? And we all feel a little bit like, rather do anything else but sit an exam. And so feeling maybe nervous in the context of exams is not going to help us perform at our best. Perhaps calm and confident might be a better emotional state. And we know from previous videos that how we think and how we feel and what we're doing with our physiology all come together to help determine our success and our outcomes. So if we don't want to get nervous in the context of exams, we have to change something at the unconscious level. What I'd like to do is help you get an experience of changing how you feel about something. Now, for the purpose of this video and for safety purposes, I don't want you doing anything too big, okay? So just pick something that you are a little bit apprehensive about, a little bit nervous about, and let's stick with something really simple and easy to start with. Now, in a moment, not yet, I'm going to invite you to close your eyes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to help you change some of the coding of that thought that you have in your head about you being a little bit apprehensive. So like I say, maybe it's an interview coming up, maybe it's an exam coming up, a little presentation maybe that you've got. So let's stick to, like I say, easy stuff, right, on these YouTube videos. Okay, now obviously before you do this exercise I'm going to give you, I want you to check that you're in a safe environment. So if you're driving or operating machinery or anything like that, now is not the right time to do this, so come back later. But if you are safe like I am here in the office, then okay, we are good to go. Now before we do, we have to pick something that you are apprehensive about, okay? So make sure you've picked something before we go ahead. Now if you need to pause the video, you can do that until you've thought of something, but like an interview, an exam, a presentation, maybe in a conversation that you need to have, something about which you are a little bit apprehensive. And I'm going to try and just see if I can help you to change the way you feel about it. So let's go then. So just close your eyes, and first of all, just take a deep breath and just let your shoulders drop as you do that. Now, as you think about that thing that you are apprehensive about or a little nervous about, I wonder if you're looking at either a still picture or a movie, and it doesn't matter which, as long as you know. And I wonder, would it take the edge off it if you made that picture or movie black and white? And if it would, then do that now. Make it black and white. So change that picture or that movie and make it so you can see it in black and white. Now I wonder, if you pushed that movie screen or picture away from you, would that help take a little bit of the edge off as well? So there's a little bit more distance between you and the movie or the picture. And if it would, then do that now. Make it so that that picture or that movie is a little bit further away from you. Good. Now, I wonder, are you looking through your own eyes, or can you see yourself in the picture? Now, whether it's a picture or a movie, can you see yourself in it? Or are you looking through your own eyes? And if you're looking through your own eyes, make it so that you can see yourself in the picture or the movie. So just make it now so that you can see yourself in that picture or that movie. Good. Now, I'm also wondering, if you turned the sounds down a little bit, would that also help take the edge off it? And if it would, then just go ahead and turn those sounds down a little bit, or in fact turn them off if you think that would help. And just do that. Now, some of you might think turning up the sound or changing the music or putting a funny piece of music or favourite track you have on that picture or that movie, that might help. So just have a think a minute. Would turning the sounds down help, or would changing the sounds help? And if either of those would, then go ahead and do that now. And make those changes. Good. Now, in terms of the feelings attached to this picture or this movie, I'm wondering whether if you made those feelings less intense and turned them down a little bit, whether that would also take the edge off. And if it is, then do that. I'm also curious, do you notice which way that feeling is moving? Perhaps it might be rotating forwards or going around in a cylinder. And if you notice that there is some movement to that feeling, make it now so the feeling goes the other way. So if it's going clockwise, stop it and make it go anti-clockwise. And notice, does that help? And if it does, keep it that way. And if it doesn't, feel free to put it back. Now, we've made some different changes to this picture or movie that you have, and I'm wondering, does this help take the edge off the thing that you used to be apprehensive about? And if it does, feel free to leave it as it is and open your eyes. And if it doesn't, feel free to put all or any of the elements back to how they were before you started. And then when you've done that, you can open your eyes. Now, we were playing around there with what we call submodalities, and they are the coding and meaning that sits behind your internal representations. And if you don't know what they are, please don't worry, it's absolutely fine. Just think of it as you're thinking. But if it's possible to change some of the coding, which is what you've just done in that exercise, it is absolutely possible to change how you feel. And if you change how you feel and think, then you can change how you act. And if you change how you act, you can change your outcomes that you get in your life, your career, and your profession. So whilst that's not a full Swish pattern, I hope that starts to help you understand how easy it is to change things when you've got this kind of NLP technique in your toolkit. Now, second up, I want to talk a little bit about anchoring. Now, if you've been following us for a while, you'll know I've already done a how to do anchoring in 10 minutes. And if you look either here or here, you'll see a white card that's going to appear in the corner. And if you just click that, you'll get taken straight to that video once you've finished watching this one. Now, anchoring has been around for a long time, and a lot of people say, oh, come on, like anchoring is just conditioned response. That's Pavlov and his dogs, right? That's when he used to feed them, and then he would ring the bell or ring the tuning fork, depending on what story you've heard, and then they would salivate. Like, that's conditioned response. Now, it wasn't until NLP came along that actually they took this conditioned response type work that Pavlov had been doing and deliberately used it to set up a trigger in the sense of Pavlov, his bell, and the behaviour or emotion, in Pavlov's case, the dogs salivating, and actually deliberately set them up to use them in the future. Now, you now see anchoring taught in all sorts of areas, including sports psychology and places like that. And anchoring is hugely helpful. One big plus for anchoring is it allows you to better control your emotional state. And we all know that being in a really good emotional, resourceful state is way better for achieving things in our lives. So what we want to do with NLP is deliberately set up a stimulus associated with either a behaviour or a feeling. To use that, and that's what we do. And as I said, check out the link in the description below or on the screen here, and you can go and check out the video, and I teach you how to do anchoring in 10 minutes, really quick and easy. Now, one of the most famous students of NLP is Tony Robbins, and you've probably heard of Tony Robbins. Now, he uses anchoring a lot in his presentations and in his courses. You may have seen him bashing his chest, tapping his chest, whatever you want to call it, and you may have seen him doing that, and that becomes an anchor. He also does this a lot. He'll put one hand in the back of his other hand, and there are other things that he does, and he has learned that actually doing those particular gestures help him, but also train his audience to feel a certain way when he does those moves. There's a certain way that he claps his hands if you watch it. These are all visual anchors. For an audience, seeing him do them, we know he's having a whale of a time and there's loads of emotion pouring off the stage when you see him do those, and that starts to be anchored. Anchoring is done best when someone is in an intense emotional state. If at the peak of that state a stimulus is applied, the two become neurologically linked. So that is anchoring. Now, you can anchor anything from smell and taste and visuals and auditories. I was watching a series that's on Channel 4 at the moment called It's a Sin. And if you haven't seen it yet, go and check it out. It's on Channel 4 as I'm recording this video. And they have an anchor called La. And if you've watched It's a Sin, you'll know all about it. Every time they see each other, it's like a greeting, or when they leave, they go la, la. And it's this unconscious kind of connection that they've built up to this word, this affectionate word that they all use with each other. So all of these sights, sounds, smells, tastes even, can all be anchored. And one of the major benefits of getting great at anchoring is being able to manage your emotional state. So I said, if you want to learn how to do it, check out the link. Now, language patterns is another whole raft of NLP techniques that were created. It's the L in NLP, the linguistics part. And being able to change the way you talk to yourself and also the language patterns that you use with others can really help you to become more influential and more successful in your life. Most of us turn our thoughts into words. And so we'll talk to ourselves, debate with ourselves, and that's cool. But if you could learn to actually change the way you're talking to yourself, change the way you're communicating with others, that is a hugely important thing. Like if you take some of the really famous therapists that John and Richard modelled, Virginia Satir, Milton Erickson, Fritz Perls, they were fascinated with how they use certain language patterns to help them help their clients. Virginia Satir is all about the language of specificity. She said lots of people in the therapy room would globalize their problems, and it was her job to help them get really specific about them. And it's one of the tools I use to help people get better at problem solving. Now, the other thing about language is if you start to listen to the words that you and other people use, you can start to get a feel for how people construct their reality. Now, bear with me on this one, okay? Okay. Now, in any given moment, they reckon upward of 3 million bits of information are coming into your mind. Okay. The problem is that your mind cannot process that quantity of information. It would just be overwhelmed if it tried to. And so what happens is a lot of the data that's coming in through your 5 senses, they all get what we call deleted, distorted, and generalized. And the problem is we all act as if our subjective experience that we're left with is reality, when in fact it's not. It's our experience. And that goes through all sorts of different filters to get us that experience. Now, the thing is, you and I could both go and experience exactly the same thing, but yet feel differently, think differently, form a different view. And that's because both of our minds will be processing in slightly different ways. So one of the things that makes NLP for me extraordinary is our ability to use our language skills in different ways to change the internal dialogue we have in our heads and therefore start to change our reality. We then start to look at things differently. Here's a couple of examples. I don't know if you're aware, but the word try to the unconscious mind implies the potential for failure. So try the veg, you might like it, said a parent to a child. Now, when you say try the veg, what you're actually implying to the unconscious mind is that there's a chance that they might not like it. Try for the promotion, you might get it. Well, if I say that to a colleague, I'm also implying that there's a possibility that they might not get it. And so we need to be much more influential in the language that we use and use what we call positive directionalized language to really help us positively impact our world and our experience and those around us. Language is a whole topic in itself, and I absolutely love talking about it. Now, the next NLP technique I want to talk about is eye patterns. This is vastly misunderstood. So eye patterns are great. The problem starts when people start to make assumptions and statements that you can use eye patterns in order to tell if someone can lie. And that's not the case. You need a whole host of other things. Now, what happened was back in the 1800s, I think it was, they started to realise that we move our eyes as we're talking. And what happens is that we move our eyes into different quadrants as we're accessing different information. Now, for most people, they will go up here to visual recall to recall things that they've seen before, and here for visual construct. Now, please, I should say a note here. I am reverse organised and therefore don't follow my eyes as I'm talking. About 90 to 95% of people are what we call normally organised, and the rest of us are reverse organised. So please don't watch these eyes. So visual recall for most people is up here to my left. You're right as you're looking at me, as long as the camera's being kind to me. So what they used to say is, well, if you looked up to visual recall, you were obviously creating something that you haven't seen before. And that's utter nonsense, because sometimes people have to construct a bit of the picture to recall another bit of the picture. It's like putting a jigsaw together. Like, you need the bits and then you need to construct it to put that picture together. So it's utter nonsense. You can't use eye patterns to tell if someone is lying. But it is interesting when you start to have a look at where eyes go for people in terms of how they're processing information. Now, if you saw it, a previous YouTube video I've done is all about peripheral vision. And again, in the comments below, or either here or here on the screen, you should now see a white bar to take you to the peripheral vision video. Now, here's a little hack to help you improve your memory. Most people, as I've said, are normally organised, and for most people, that is up and to their left. Now, if you can put yourself in peripheral vision and look up and to your left, it's a really good hack for improving your memory. That's how I remembered all the information I needed for my 7-hour exam to become an NLP trainer. So I stood for hours and hours in front of my wardrobe, putting my self in peripheral vision, and then putting all of the diagrams and all of the things I had to remember, the acronyms, the formulas and everything else. I remembered them by putting them in my visual recall. So as I say, for most of you, it's up and to the left. Put yourself in peripheral vision, and as you do that, and read it. And then just keep your eyes up here in your visual recall, close your eyes and read it. And if you do it for long enough, you'll start to install things in your memory. It's an amazing, amazing hack. And if you don't know how to put yourself in peripheral vision, go check out the video I've done on peripheral vision. Now, there are hundreds of different techniques I could talk about, but the last one I'm going to talk about today is values, and your values are what are important to you. And in NLP, we have a technique that allows us to do a values elicitation, and it's absolutely superb. Your values are what motivate you. And we're not talking about corporate values that we're all sick of seeing in the corporate world. These are what you hold dear to yourself at an unconscious level. Lots of people think they know what their values are, and I promise you, you really don't. You may know some of them, but you will not know all of them. And we have a set of values in each context of our life. So for work and for relationships and for family and health and fitness, there will be things that are driving us, are motivating us. So the official definition in NLP of a value is what is important to you. It therefore determines what you spend time on, and because of that, it is what motivates you. And so many people with motivation issues don't realise it's all connected to what's important to you. People often as well in life seem to think that the material things are what important to them, and they're really not. It's what the material things mean to you that make the difference. So take, for example, a beautiful big house. That's a material item. It's a very expensive material item. But actually, what's really important is, what do you attach to the meaning of that house? Does it make you feel successful? Does it help you to feel fulfilled that you finally accomplished a goal? That's really the meaning. Take money. Money is just paper. It's just money. What's important is the value that you attach to it. I mean, take someone that's homeless and go and give them £100. That is going to mean the world to them. Take a millionaire and give them £100. They thank you like it was a fiver to the rest of us. And it's all about the meaning that you attach to things. And like I say, these values are so important. Now, Maurice Massey did a lot of research into where these come from in the 80s. And there are various phases by which you acquire values at an unconscious level. And teenagers start rejecting them, which is why we have the teenage years, as we'll call them. But actually, if you want to get results in your life, if you can align your values and therefore your motivation behind them, that is like pouring Miracle-Gro on your flowers in your garden. It just is absolutely phenomenal, and I love working with values. So if you'd like to go deeper on any of these subjects or any other NLP technique that we have available, then you may well want to consider looking at our NLP Demystified Introductory NLP course. This course is 5 hours, and it's a really good dive into all the things I've been talking about today and a whole host of other things, really practical things that you can use, like helping you get rid of internal conflicts, better manage your emotional state, get better decision making. There is so much goal setting. There's so much in that 5 hour course. So if you go into the description underneath this video, you will find a link to access that course. And for 2 weeks after the release of this video, you will also see in the description a code. And that is my gift to you. It's a 50% off code. And if you watch this video within the first 2 weeks of it being released, you'll get 50% off. And that makes the course just £24.50. And then the rest of the time, it will still be available, but at full price at £49. And to be honest, I still think it's great value. You get a manual to keep for life and a whole host of tools that you can use. So do go ahead and check that out. Please make sure that you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you know when we release our next video every Friday. And if you've got a friend who you think would be interested in learning a little bit about NLP and some of the things I've discussed today, then please do me and them a favour and copy the link for this video and pop it to them in a message or on social media and encourage them to come on over and check it out. I'd love to be able to help not just you, but also the people that you know and love. So until next time, take care.